You are listening to 89.5 The Wave, KCFV Ferguson, and this is Dead Air. I am your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss, and I know this is kind of weird. We're doing a cold opening, but that's just because I am very happy to announce and very, very, over the moon ecstatic to announce that Glenn is alive.
Yes!
He survived. He did it, which is awesome.
Yay!
We're glad. I am happy because it has been for the longest time. Also, just real quick, I'm joined with Paul, and we might have one other person kind of join us a little bit later. It's just me and him.
We're hoping our resident zombie expert is going to be able to make it in today.
Yeah, when I say zombie expert, I mean he puts all of us to shame, even though we've been doing this for 2 years now, 3 years.
Yeah, I think we may be going on 3, yeah.
Yeah, so we've been doing this a while, but this guy puts us to shame.
This guy, yeah.
So we're hoping he stops in here a little bit, but if not, I mean, you get to hang out with us experts. So,
we're as close as experts as we can get.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those doctor things where you print out a paper and it says, I'm an expert doctor online, but
we're not quite that bad, but...
Yeah, not yet, but either way, I digress. So yes, Glenn's alive, and I am extremely ecstatic because I think Chris Hardwick really said it best, how it's been even though the series has been going forward and has been progressing and the story has been moving forward, it still felt like a standstill because we didn't know what happened to Glenn.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, and they mentioned this, is it's been 4 episodes since Glenn took the header.
Yeah.
But the time span within the world of the show has been 1 day.
Yeah.
So within 1 day, they went to try and lead the zombies out of the quarry. That went to hell.
Yeah. The wolf attacked.
The wolves attacked. The group got splintered. Rick almost got killed in the RV. Rick made it back to town. All of that. And Nicholas shot himself, and Glenn stuck himself under the dumpster, and that's all been 1, maybe 2 days.
Yeah, I think it's been 1 because if you watch the episodes fluently, you can see that each episode, I believe, has at least 1 night scene, except the stuff with Rick and everything that was now.
Right.
So this is the second day. Everything went down the day before. So yeah, this is...
Yeah, so Glenn getting back and... I hate to jump straight to the end of the episode, but the green balloons flying across happened probably midday on day 2, the day after the wolves attacked.
Yeah, and especially because of what happened at the end. They've had a rough 2 days.
Yeah.
They had a rough 2 days, but we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But I mean, so Glenn's alive, and I loved it because on Twitter, everybody was tweeting about it. And I love it because if you do hashtag Walking Dead, even now, because when I rewatched the episode last night to kind of get some of the questions and everything, it's green balloons and...
Hashtag green balloons. Yay, Glenn's alive!
Hashtag green balloons, hashtag Glenn's alive. So it's a really good and fun... It's a really good and fun kind of moment for the Walking Dead cast because, I mean, and even the Walking Dead fans, because we don't get moments like this a lot.
No, generally when we see somebody die, they stay dead.
Yeah, or
they come back undead.
Yeah, or it's supposed to be they went missing and we don't know. I mean, they kind of did this with Beth a little bit before.
They did a little bit with Beth. They did it with Sophia.
Yeah, but and Sophia was, I think, definitely the bad version of what could happen.
Yeah, Sophia was very, very hard. Yeah. And the thing, though, with Beth and Sophia is you didn't know what happened to them for a long time. Sophia much more than Beth.
Yeah, well, she went missing, beginning of the season and the mid-season finale. We just found her out.
Yeah, she was let out of the barn.
Yeah.
Beth was captured, and then we didn't see her until 4th episode.
Yeah, something like that. Everybody was really, where's Beth? This, I think, was worse in the sense of the fan kind of uprising of what happened.
Glenn was a much more popular character, I think, with the fans.
Yeah.
Than Beth. I mean, Beth, don't get me wrong, Beth's loss hit me, I think, harder than you.
Yeah, well...
You just didn't really... You were like, I'm sick of her.
No, I was sick of her. I didn't like her character development at all. But
I felt that they were finally developing her character, which scares me. And there's something else I want to bring up along those lines too.
Okay.
Because, she was finally getting the development. She was maturing into an actual character and not just, we need somebody to sing and look cute and hang out with Daryl. So it was finally, oh yes, we're finally getting character development, and bang, gone. Glenn, we've had character development from season 1. It's not like, we met Beth in season 2 and she really didn't do squat until season 4.
But even then, it was after Herschel's death, and
Yeah.
it was still, she was just tagging along. It never felt to me that it never felt to me when Beth and Daryl were alone together that it was, oh, I'm watching these two characters interact. It always felt like it was Daryl and Beth was tagging along.
Beth was kind of hanging out with Daryl and doing her thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And we got that character development finally. And then we ended up with, oh, great, Beth's dead. This hit hard. And I've seen a couple of people say that, they think this was a dry run for what they're going to do when they kill Daryl off.
Yeah.
If this was a dry run for what they're going to do when they kill Daryl off, I don't think they're going to kill Daryl.
Yeah. With Daryl, I think whenever he does die, and don't get me wrong, because I always kind of talk about which character I think is going to die this season. It does not mean that it does not still hit me hard when they eventually do die. I didn't want Glenn to die, and I don't want Glenn to die. I never really wanted Glenn to die or sacrifice himself or anything like that. So you don't want these characters to die, but you also kind of prepare for their death in a certain way. The difference between with Beth and Glenn and even Sophia is that Sophia, we didn't see what happened to her. Beth, she kind of bought it on herself, unfortunately.
To a point she did, but Beth finally went out in a heroic manner. And that's the only thing that would have saved it had Glenn actually been dead.
Yeah.
Is at least he went out trying.
Well, see, I've heard a lot of stuff on the internet where people said that, oh, he was a chump. He was for save, which I don't think so.
I think he was completely correct for trying to save Nicholas.
Yeah, I think he was completely correct for trying to save Nicholas, and I think that's what struck a chord more with people is that either he didn't die or supposedly died in a heroic way, but he died trying to save somebody, and we saw him fall, and nobody knew.
Right.
If he was alive or dead, we normally get that confirmation. So I think his death had a very big impact, and I totally agree with Chris Hardwick, where I like that. I like shows that do this. I like shows that will do something like this.
Yeah.
But shows that, do this where something like this happens and then you get that break and it becomes more real and you can change your mind week from week to, is he alive? Is he dead? Is he alive? And now we got the confirmation that he's alive.
And that was the hardest thing for this, was waiting those 4 weeks before. Because, immediately afterward, everyone was going, okay, tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. And instead they went to Morgan's backstory.
Yeah.
How Morgan became uncrazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, great. We wanted to know that. Okay, next week they're going to let us know. Nope. Okay, well, they've got to tell us something this week. Nope. Okay, we got one more episode before the season finale. What's it start off with? Thank you. Thud.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they showed the other angle, the little bit longer shot of Glenn laying there with Nicholas on top of him, so you could see exactly how he landed.
Yeah.
We've discussed this. I have one problem with this. Why were they not grabbing Glenn's legs?
Yeah. I have no idea with that either.
Because Nicholas was laying across Glenn's chest, which is why they were ripping intestines out of what should have been Glenn's chest cavity.
Yeah.
So his legs were laying out in the middle of the horde. They should have been grabbing him. Granted, there have been videos that have shown that you can skedaddle under a dumpster if you're small size like Glenn is. But And it looks like we have our special third guest in here.
Yeah. Our third guest is here, and we are just, and we're happy to have him.
Yes. All right. This is the resident St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley zombie expert.
Yep.
The one, the only, Mr. Drew Foster. What's up, Drew?
How are you guys doing today? I think expert might be stretching it. Zombie, I'll accept.
Zombie expert.
Zombie expert.
No, just a zombie.
Oh, well, depends. How much caffeine today?
Not enough.
Nowhere near enough.
Nowhere near enough.
Okay. Well, we'll roll with that.
Yeah.
We were just discussing poor Glenn's undeath.
Yeah.
Undeath, yes.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on him? Are you happy that he survived? Like, because I know some
definitely.
people.
I'm delighted that he survived. I'm just not ecstatic about how they showed him surviving.
And we were just talking about that.
They have shown, I've seen videos online where people similar in stature to Glenn, because there's no way I could make it, were able to slide under a dumpster similar to that. Now, you have one other complaint I believe you voiced. As far as...
Well,
we haven't been talking about this a couple of weeks. No, you were mentioning something about with that many zombies, how did they not move the dumpster?
Right, and I realized it was close to a fence or wall, but it was a narrow area. That mass of hordness, or whatever you call it, I just don't see how they couldn't have shoved it over them, through it, what have you. I would like to see the original scene again, and then the other one. 'Cause I really don't recall it being that tall. But that could just be perception.
It would be interesting. This is something I may have to do because I've got them all DVR'd.
Me too.
I'm really bad like that. But go back and watch Thank You, and then watch what was this past week's.
This past episode was
remember the name of this
titled,
week's.
and I meant to say that it's Heads Up.
Heads Up.
Heads Up. This episode was titled Heads Up.
I would love to watch the end of Thank You and then the very beginning scene of Heads Up back to back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that would be a good thing. Why didn't we think to do that beforehand?
I don't know. Maybe
we really should have.
Whenever we take a break, we'll maybe try to find.
And I don't know why that dumpster didn't move at all. Anyway.
Well, you could say that because Glenn killed the walkers that were underneath, it kind of barricaded him, and
before he fell off.
Oh, I don't know.
That had to have been a really full dumpster.
It had to be more than full. It had to be bolted down or something.
You can't bolt the dumpster down because
it looked like it. It didn't move. And it had to be pretty full because they weren't denting the top of it either.
Oscar was actually inside holding it up.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was, yeah. Oscar the Grouch lived in that one, and he was just kind of like, Glenn, come on, man, I got you, bro. Just
pretty much
lose a little weight, okay?
I must have watched that and missed that in the Talking Dead. I remember talking about Oscar, but
I mean, because there was one other thing that kind of bothered me a little bit about not his death, but the way it was the way he fell, because it looked like he fell his head away, because even when he fell and twisted, it didn't look like because it looked like he had to do like a complete somersault, because if you watch the way he falls to the way he landed and was laying there, it looked kind of different. To me, it looked different. I think that's the one complaint that I have with it.
I'm not recalling, but I think this brings up a point that Paul had mentioned.
I can see that when Nicholas shot himself, he hit him, and he kind of went off the dumpster, and it looked like he was falling head into the horde, not head towards the dumpster.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but then when they showed him hit... They showed his head kind of hit the concrete. He was on his back. So it may have been one of those full somersault things where he ended up head here and then hit.
Possibly. I mean, we'll have to look at the scene, and I think we'll do that when there's a break. Just kind of watch that scene.
Yeah.
Here in a little bit. But I think that was the one complaint. And I know some people are... Because I was watching some stuff about it, some people are kind of like, "Oh, that's cool." Everybody's happy that he survived.
Oh yeah.
But I think everybody had such grand kind of ideas of how he would survive. I think our way was pretty fun.
Most people the
tiger.
Oh, the Ezekiel coming in. That would have been awesome.
Ezekiel coming in, saving him with the tiger. That would have been fun. But I mean, I think it's
speaking of who saved him, Enid. Really?
Yeah, that's
Enid? Now, I will say this. She kind of gave it away on the episode where she ran away,
yeah,
JSS,
yeah.
because when she was on The Talking Dead afterwards, she said, well, I think when people see me again, they're going to be really pleased.
Yeah, so
And at
she
that
knew.
point, we didn't know Glenn was going to possibly die. We didn't know there was going to be a Schrodinger's Glenn.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was dead as far as I didn't see
No.
him surviving
For the last 4 weeks, Glenn has been both alive and dead because we've been unable to observe him.
And that's been the fun of it. I hate to say that, but that's been some of the most fun of it.
Fun. You have a sick idea of fun.
It's fun in the sense that it's interesting to see people flip-flop from one week to another and not really knowing of maybe he's dead, maybe he's not, and just this flip-flop. Because I think all of us at one point were certain he's alive and then almost certain he's dead.
I'm guilty.
I was pretty certain he was dead.
I'm guilty. The first week, I was like, no, he is alive. He will find a way out of that. It was when I watched Aaron and Maggie scrub his and Nicholas's names off the wall of those they'd lost. I was like, oh, crap, he is dead. He is.
Yeah.
They removed his name from the wall because we're going to hold out hope that he's alive. And Maggie gave that whole speech about, I just may never get to know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, crap, he is dead.
Now, how interesting do you think the scene would have been if this episode it wasn't confirmed? Which I'm going to give this to The Walking Dead. I like that sometimes I think something that's going to drag out a lot longer than it actually does, it gets wrapped up relatively quickly. Like how...
Terminites?
Yeah, the Terminites.
Realistically, the Wolves.
The Wolves.
I figured the Wolves were going to be the first half of season 6, not the first 2 episodes.
Well, I mean, I thought realistically the first half of the season originally, because they could have done it where they drew it out to where we saw them traveling up to Alexandria.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to do that really quick, but I mean, they got that done within, mid-season of last year?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because we ended season 5 with them in Alexandria.
Yeah, and I mean, like other shows would have milked that for what it's worth and have the travel and everything, and it would have been such prolonged, and then we would have gotten to that Alexandria last episode of the season. So I like that they actually do sometimes wrap it up, but then they also prolong stuff that isn't needed. So what do you guys think the episode would have been if instead of showing Glenn actually survive, they had the episode, never really mentioned Glenn, but at the end they had the balloons? Do you think that would have been as impactful as it was? I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't think it would have.
I agree. I don't think it would have been as impactful either.
Okay.
I think you had to see Glenn, know he's alive, and see him, maybe not with Enid, but see him getting the balloons and filling them with helium and just letting them up.
Yeah.
If you saw if you saw balloons rising up a couple at a time or something, but
Yeah.
Glenn has been a survivor, so
Yeah.
he had that going for him. I'm still not convinced he's alive. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it.
You think this is all like
I'm
a
not
dream
buying it.
sequence?
No, I'm not buying it. I'm thinking they lost credibility in my mind.
How so?
First of all, I really didn't, from my recollection, which granted I'm getting older, but I didn't think you could get under that dumpster in the first place.
Well, you also have
The
to think
dumpster
skinny.
doesn't move. You've got a horde of zombies in a narrow alley. I don't see that there's much of an escape unless there's some kind of divine intervention. And Enid, I'm sorry, is not divine intervention.
No.
Now, the one thing that I will say gave them a little of that credibility back is once he got under, remember, they were coming at him, trying to lean in under, and he started stabbing them in the head, basically built up a dead barricade, which in my mind kind of gave him the same camouflage that they used in season 1 when they covered themselves with the walker guts and, until
Carol.
it rained.
Yeah.
Or Carol or Michonne.
Yeah,
I mean, let's face it. They seem to operate on.
Michonne would have whacked the arms off. Carol would have just ripped her whole body and thrown over her or something.
Yeah, that's true. She would have made herself a walker poncho.
Yeah.
Why, all this grabbing at zombies and going for the goodies that wasn't Glenn? touched at all.
Okay, I brought that up earlier. My main complaint, not why wasn't he touched at all, but the way Nicholas fell across him, why the hell weren't they grabbing his legs?
Yeah.
Because, you can't tell me Glenn just laid there stock still like, I'm dead. And, his head's screaming.
See if there's a horde of zombies and they're pressed around. It could restrict their movements somewhat.
Well, and it was in slow motion when we actually watched the whole scene unfold. So we don't know how it could have been fall.
Glenn is a pretty quick little sucker.
There's pros and cons. So I think everything. I think we're all glad that Glenn's alive, even though
I'm just not satisfied with their showing how he survived.
And I think a lot of people are kind of feeling like that, where it was something so simple, but everybody thought of like outside the box so much, like, oh, this character's going to come in, or he's going to shoot the flare, which
flare gun broke. Yeah,
that was kind of like, no, he couldn't. Like, I think they knew that the fans were thinking, oh, he's going to shoot the flare gun out. And,
they were watching Twitter. No, they couldn't have because they hadn't seen it. But yeah. I was like, they did a quick reshoot. Come on, all right, we got one shoot, Steve. Come on, just lay down, just pick up the flare, and it broke. Okay, all right, yeah, put that in. All right, now we can air it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, if it's short of Beam Me Up Scotty, I just don't see how he was going to survive this.
Yeah.
But I think we're all glad that Glenn's alive. And kind of speaking of Glenn, and you brought her up a little bit before, Enid. I don't know what was up with her this episode, but I never wanted to smack somebody more. She was really frustrating for me.
You want to take this one?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I did. At first, I wanted to smack her. But I think you're going to see Enid and Glenn actually form a very, very close bond, because Enid is a lot like Glenn. Enid's a survivor. She's used to being out on her own. She's used to, getting herself into and out of scrapes. She's foraging. She's been going out when the rest of the Alexandrians were, huddled in safe, going, we've got walls, we've got electricity, we got running water, we can take hot showers. This is cool. Yeah. She was jumping over the wall and going, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to kill these things.
Yeah.
Well, I think she lacks what Glenn's known for as empathy, his ability to not lash out at people.
She does.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think they are going to kind of impart on one another, which we're going to be talking about that with another couple of characters after a bit.
Yeah.
I think that this whole thing, because if you notice, she was very, very antagonistic at Glenn, even pulling a gun on him.
She's a teenager. I'm sorry, but she's a teenager.
Oh, trust me, I know. But
I'm still in the dark about teenagers, so I was one, but...
You're just recently away from being a teenager. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But I think, she lashed out at Glenn, and then she started to kind of almost warm up to Glenn as the episode wore on. And by the end, it almost looked like, okay, look, we're a team. We're going to get through this. We're going to get back in there.
Well, did she?
To me, it seemed
everything that it seemed like he was doing, it seemed like she was just kind of like sloppily going along with it, but she still didn't want to talk to Glenn. She still wanted nothing to do with Glenn, and
she was thawing at the end, though.
Which, and again, that's teenage. Yeah, just saying.
But I mean, she frustrated me this episode because she might have warmed up to Glenn, but I don't know. I feel that any person, even if you're, I guess, super moody or whatever, would, as soon as it's like, hey, what was that? There were walls, or was our city attacked? Or, there's a horde going to them. I think normal person would just be like even without growing up in this world would be like, oh, okay, whatever stuff I'm dealing with, we have to go for this guy.
That's the difference. Enid had lost her parents, and they were the one thing that she knew were always going to keep her safe. So she knew she couldn't count on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she had distanced herself so much from everyone in Alexandria. That's why when it was, oh my God, they were attacked, there were shots. Do you know what was happening? She was basically just like, I don't care. They're not my problem. They're not my people. I'm not from there. That's not home. She even said, that's not my home.
So she's
We're
almost
not going home. She is, I'm just distancing myself. Too bad for them. I've got to look out for me.
She's almost kind of doing what Rick is kind of going through a little bit with them and us kind of mentality, where they're not my people. And
except for everyone is them.
Yeah.
And the only us that exists is Enid.
Yeah.
So she's doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
She is surviving by ignoring the reality.
Yeah.
We're ignoring a reality and surviving by talking about The Talking Dead.
Yeah. And I will also say this, it's clear that Enid's going through, and I think that they're going to start mentioning this more. She's going through post-traumatic stress like everybody else has been. And I think you can tell people that are really going through it, and the people that have come over it, is when they kill a walker that doesn't need to die, if that makes sense. When you kill, like how she walked up to the ground walker and stabbed it in the head.
Yeah.
And then kept walking, and Glenn's like, you didn't need to do that. Like, when you kill
it mercy. Oh, that's Z Nation, my bad.
Yeah. But no, like in this world, I think they clearly say that you don't have to kill. If a walker's laying there, my whole thing would be you kill it just so if you kill it, then the next people will have an easier time kind of walking through.
So it doesn't dale you.
Yeah, it doesn't dale you. But if it's
bad, but that's true.
Yeah, it's great, but it's bad. Yeah.
But I mean, you don't have to kill a walker if it's not hurting anybody or can't hurt anybody.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say that's necessarily their sign that they're over it.
Well, it kind of depends. It could be a tactic. You could leave them alive that are trapped, so it could be a warning system. It could grab somebody else, like it happened in the episode.
Yeah,
lured them in there. Or maybe it's a humane thing to do, is to put it out of its misery and ours.
I think with them, the humane thing is like they'll kill their own kind, but after a while, it doesn't become a humane thing to kill walkers. It become you don't look at them as people anymore. You look at them as monsters.
They're threats.
Yeah. So and tactic wise, I could see. I mean, I would much rather have a bunch of walkers that don't have like arms and legs and can't really do anything on the road to keep others away, rather than have no walkers around that are kicking and bring a whole horde to you.
Are you saying all life is precious?
Yeah, I think all life is precious. I
have come to believe that all life is precious.
I like Morgan. I like his whole his whole views of life and everything like that. I want to get into him here in a minute. I think we're going to be taking a break here in like a minute or two. But I definitely want to get into Rick and Morgan because I think that this was a heavy episode with them as well. There was a lot of character development with everybody. And we're going to get into it coming up here in a minute.
Can I throw out one thing that I mentioned earlier? And I'm sorry, this was before you got in here, Drew.
Yeah.
We were talking about how when minor characters seem to get character development, all of a sudden they die.
Yeah.
Like Beth, gone. Sophia was getting a little bit way back in season, what was that, 2? Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deanna really made a lot of character development these last few episodes. She's really sort of come into her own with the whole killing the walker with the bottle and looking at Rick and I want to live and drawing up her plans for the future and then handing those plans off to Michonne so that someone else would have them in the event of her untimely demise. I think Deanna's a goner.
You think that's foreshadowing for Deanna? I don't see. Okay.
I think she's a goner.
I think there are going to be several goners.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know, because I want her to live.
So do I.
I like Deanna, and I think for this community, people are going to need a leader like Rick that will protect them, that gets stuff done, that does the stuff that you can't. And then they're going to need a leader like Deanna, where she's the face. She's the face and Rick's the muscle.
I think they're going to need Deanna to be sort of the diplomatic, hey, let's everybody pull together leader. I think they're going to need Rick to be the, all right, somebody's trying to kill us. You, and you, up on the wall, full automatics, let's go. We need to take them out.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but I do think just the way they're showing things, and I hope this is their reverse psychology. I think I did enough reverses there because they mess with your head.
yeah.
Oh, true.
But I hope that that's their way of saying, oh, well, we're pretty much alluding to the fact that we're going to kill her off, so she's going to survive.
Yeah.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
It's happened in the past.
So, okay, let's kind of dive right in because I wanted to talk a little bit about like Rick and Morgan because I think between them they had some really good and big scenes between both of them. They had a lot of character development this episode and they were just fun to watch, I feel. They were kind of fun to watch, and especially the I think what Chris Hardwick said so nicely of the principal's office scene was, I mean, crazy. What are your guys' kind of thoughts on that whole scene between them? I mean,
I loved when Rick walked past Morgan and said, I need to talk to you later. And that was the whole setup for it was just, and it was like, all right, you done bad. You need to come see me in my office. And he, had the little board of education like right there. He looked like, all right.
He pretty much turned into Miss Finster from Recess. Like it got
the red hatchet of education.
Exactly.
Red machete, my bad.
Exactly. That was good. I need to remember that. But it got scary, and you could just kind of tell. And I don't know if anybody else kind of saw this or not, or maybe it's just me overlooking or analyzing something. But during the actual scene when they were talking, did it almost seem like Rick had like the quote unquote two angels, or the angel and the devil on his shoulder, and the devil being kind of Carol and the angel kind of being Michonne, where Michonne's just like, hey, you did this, but you might not have to do this, and blah, 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 blah. And Carol was just kind of like, what'd you do? Why'd you do this? Blah, 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 blah. You did this. Like very much kind of leading Rick like into the whole mindset. Or am I the only one that noticed that?
I don't know if I'd go angel and devil on the shoulder, but Carol was definitely more on the hard side. She was more on the coming down hard on Morgan's side, whereas Michonne was more trying to reason with him.
Yeah.
Michonne seemed more, okay, look, you can't reduce in this world especially the world down to that philosophy. All life is not precious.
Well, it might be, but it's not that simple.
Yeah. It's a lot more difficult, and I think with this, Morgan kind of is starting to get that his decisions of taking down that role have consequences, just like killing has consequences too.
And I loved when he mentioned, you could have killed me back, and of course he's referring to episode or in season 3, the Clear episode. Yeah. He's like, you could have killed me, but you didn't. And because of that, I was able to save Daryl and Aaron. If I hadn't been able to save them, what would have happened then? So yes, he makes a point for, the all life is precious. Even though Morgan was bat squat crazy, Rick didn't kill him. And in turn, Morgan got himself, hooked back up, and he's all back together. And life is good. And now he was able to save Daryl and Aaron, which was good, but it got the wolves to Alexandria. So,
but I mean, because I was thinking about that whole scene too, like, okay, even if Morgan killed the wolves, yes, I don't think the wolves would have eventually gone to Alexandria, but if Morgan wasn't there, Aaron and Daryl would have died. Yes. The wolves would have found out about Alexandria anyway. And so you'd be in the same kind of boat. And I don't know if that's just because we're looking at stuff as a viewer, but they would be in the same exact boat with or without Morgan's decision on allowing these people to live.
Well,
sort of.
I mean, you can look at it in a couple ways. It is a TV show.
we have to remember that.
It's not reality. It is a TV show. And you rely on plot devices and stuff to help move the story forward. And some of that might be some of this, but I do agree it's kind of interesting to look at how the different people are reacting to the situation. Morgan is wanting to have this moral absolutism. And he should be lauded and applauded for that. However, in this world, in the world that they're existing in right now, it has consequences. Okay. Carol is Carol, and she will take him out and look at the flowers and make wolf casserole. She's going to deal with the problem. Michonne's going to reason about it a little bit. Rick, I think, is still at the point where he's ready to act more so than think.
Yes.
Because he's still trying to catch who he is and stuff, because he was out there and was almost over
way
the edge.
out there.
Well, when you bite somebody's throat out, you're pretty far out there.
Yeah. He's come back a lot from
He's
that.
come back, but I still think there's the mentality of like protecting everybody, but it's my people. You're the neighbors. This is my family.
Yes.
You're not messing with my family. Neighbors are protecting stuff, but you're not my family, at least not yet.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you mentioned that Morgan has this whole very, very absolute morality, and that Rick is still trying to find his. I have a feeling they're going to kind of complement each other, and I think Rick is going to give Morgan a little bit of that sense of when you have to kill. And I think Morgan's going to give Rick a little bit of if you don't have to, don't kill.
Yeah.
Think before, do you need to?
Yeah. And
I think that's the exchange that they're
balance.
going to, and I think Michonne's going to be the one facilitating that, and Carol's going to clean up the leftovers.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that kind of backtracks to kind of what I was talking about, the post-traumatic stress and killing a walker when you need to and when you don't need to. I think these characters definitely need to kind of give second chances to people that they kind of feel deserve it, you know? Because I mentioned this earlier with the whole scene between Rick and Tara, which I absolutely love.
I thought that was good when she flipped him the bird.
Yeah, because it makes me love Tara. Like I'm definitely I love Tara so much. Crush, yes. No, but no, I like that. For one, I like that this group dynamic isn't that it's definitely not the dictatorship anymore. Because with the dictatorship, I don't think he would have stood for that. But it seems that Rick is somewhat putting up this facade of trying to be this tough guy to protect everything, and that it's still his people, and everybody else is kind of like, well, no, it's not. It's we're all in this together now. You know, Deanna even's like, we're all in this together. I mean, when he saved Spencer, he didn't have to save Spencer, but he did.
Getting used to the in-laws.
And, you know, I love that conversation when Rick was talking to Deanna.
Yeah.
And he said, when Spencer did that, they made a hole because they were all crowded. I could have gone out, I could have gotten a car and led the horde away, but I didn't. I saved Spencer. And Deanna's like, why? He says, because he was your son. And she's like, that's not the right answer. I think Deanna realizes it. I think Deanna realizes, especially after the exchange with Tara, where Rick said, why'd you do that, risking yourself for one of them? And Tara responded with, you're number one.
Yeah.
I think that's Deanna sees that they're no longer us and them. It's no longer Rick's group and the Alexandrians. And they're starting to become more of an intermingled group. I mean, let's face it, Carol's already let the facade drop.
Yeah.
Everybody pretty much knows, okay, Carol, yeah, she doesn't look like much, she's a badass, stay away from her.
Yeah. Don't go smoking outside.
Do smoke outside. Do smoke outside. Don't smoke inside.
Don't smoke in her kitchen, that's for sure. Woo!
Yeah. Bad idea. But no, and it's almost to the point where I'm wondering if people know Rick better than kind of Rick knows himself right now, or if he feels kind of, because of what happened with Lori and kind of, because I still think that might still mess him up a little bit, or at least what happened with the prison and then Terminus, because that's been back to back so recent without really that big of a break. He feels that he has to kind of be almost like how Shane was, where he's very much wound up all the time, ready for fighting whenever, and it definitely kind of goes back to the scene between him and Michonne, where he's like, you know, oh, as soon as we catch our breath and stuff, and she's like, we are catching our breath. What are you talking about? We're doing this. So I'm wondering if in his head he's still, I bumped the mic, that's my bad, but I'm wondering if he's still going if he's still running forward, if he's still moving and going like a mile a minute in his head, when really it's, you don't have to always look around every corner to look for the bad stuff. You don't always have to do this, that, or the other.
And that's absolutely what he's been doing.
Well, he's the leader. It's his responsibility, and it's a heavy responsibility, particularly in this kind of a situation. So I think it's logical and natural for him to be kind of like, this is the way things can be done here, folks, because if you don't, the consequences are going to be pretty severe.
Yeah.
And if you're just following orders, you don't have that weight on you to make those decisions, because people are going to live or die based on some of his decisions.
Yeah. But I still think for being a leader, you need to try to come back. And I think I think with the Alexandrians, he flip-flops a lot to where sometimes he feels that they can do it, like with
some of these people aren't going to make it back.
Yeah.
Do you remember that episode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's
He
back.
was right.
He's saving Spencer now. So I think he can distinguish between the two. I think he's coming back. He is starting to see a little bit more of we're not a we and they kind of situation. It's an us. But when you're the leader, you're still in that kind of a similar dynamic, top down, we, they, me, they.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of. So I don't know.
I really think that the whole interaction with Tobin when he was reinforcing the wall,
I love that
helped
scene, and I love Tobin
Rick,
for it.
Oh, I think Tobin is a fantastic character. God, I hope he makes it.
I hope so too. But
I think that really helped reinforce to Rick when he said, look, don't give up on us yet. We can make it. We can do this. And he helped him reinforce the wall, and he's like, I got an idea. And it ended up, they reinforced that part of the wall. They should have been doing that stuff over by where the tower was, I'm just saying, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
River of zombies coming through your wall. That's never a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, I think it is kind of leaps and bounds. And I think some people you can tell who might survive and who might. Tobin, I hope he doesn't die, because I think a lot of people that wear flannel in this world kind of end up dead. And
Wasn't Shane wearing flannel after he offed Otis?
I think a lot of people have been wearing flannel that...
Shane was a piece of flannel, but anyway.
Shane was a piece of something, but...
Yeah. But I'm loving, like, the whole story and how he's trying to teach these people. Granted, it might not work out, especially for poor Carl.
Well, not to mention Rosita's trying to teach them. Rosita's teaching them machete defense, which I think is a lot more valuable than firearm skills.
Yeah.
Because I really, I think Carl might have a better chance if Rick would teach Ron how to use a knife as opposed to how to use a firearm.
Bring it up to your eye.
Right at eye level.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I want to talk about that scene real quick.
Before we go to that one, they're kind of merging a little bit. I mean, you can't be constantly out on the edge, and you burn out after a while.
Yeah.
And if you're so far removed from reality, like the Alexandrians were, that's kind of like isolationism. That does not work well.
Yeah, and see, I think with both Rick and Deanna, if they work together, that's going to bring a good balance of not always being on that edge, but not always being safe at home. They're going to be able to balance each other out and actually make this work.
I see Carol at one end of the spectrum. I see Morgan on the other one, and I see Michonne kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And Rick, I think, is a little more towards Carol.
Yeah, he's more towards Carol, and I think more people would probably benefit from being in where Michonne is at right now, because she's kind of balanced it. Because she was out there for a long time, too.
Yeah.
When you're whacking the arms off of walkers and then leading them around, it's an excellent strategy and technique, but your humanity has kind of disappeared a little bit there.
Yeah.
And, of course, humanity in general has disappeared, but still, nonetheless, you can't do this on your own.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not going to be able to survive on your own. You're not going to be able to survive if you're like the Alexandrians, who don't see this as a reality. Morgan is in this kind of set in this kind of sense of moral reality, and that's great and it's wonderful, but I don't even think that works extremely well in the real world. But the world he's in right now, it's going to cost important people's lives, your lives, your friends' lives. And this is what this show does to you. There's a moral ambiguity that goes in. Bred by this show is phenomenal.
I have a theory on what is going to end up happening with this whole thing, and I think it ties a lot of that together because we've seen a lot of things that are kind of little red flags, little hints that they drop, and they are good at dropping breadcrumbs.
Wonderful.
But they're starting to train the Alexandrians on how to survive, how to get by, how to fight with weapons that don't need to be reloaded. Mm-hmm. They're getting a little bit better on just general survival, and then the wall comes down. My personal feeling, I think you're right. I think we're going to lose a lot of the Alexandrians. But I think the ones that we don't lose are going to hole up with Rick and his group because those guys are going to make it.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to find a place, they're going to regroup, they're going to get a strategy, and they're going to come back and retake Alexandria. But I think that time out is going to harden the Alexandrians enough to make it. They're going to see what Rick and his group have been through firsthand. Not training, not taking them out and going, okay, well, there's, I saw a cluster of 6 walkers over there. We're going to show you how this is done. You're going to get to do it. And real life, you're out here, they're out there. We have to get food. We have to kill them. I think a week or two of that for the Alexandrians, the ones that are going to make it, and they're going to keep that lesson.
So it's that bloody face reflected in the muddy water.
It's that Heath thing.
Where has he been? Because it seems like they were
I didn't see him.
It seems like they were kind of gearing up to make him a really major character, and he was in the first 2-3 episodes, and then he's just gone.
I think they're going to bring him. He's been in Alexandria because Michonne's there, so he's got to be in Alexandria. But you're right, you haven't seen much of him.
Yeah,
maybe he's out looking for people. Who knows?
Could be. They could have sent. Well, no,
because they got back.
No, because they got back right as the horde was. Rick got back right as the horde was hitting.
Yeah. So it's only been, we counted, it's only been a day and a half.
Yeah, about a day and a half.
Each night scene you see is that same night. So I mean, there's that. But I mean, what else? I mean, what do you guys think? Where do you guys think that the season's going? I mean, what do you think's gonna kind of gear up? Because
body count,
eye patch. I think Carl's going to need to call David Morrissey up and go, hey, David, do you still have that eye patch from when you were the governor? Can I borrow it?
You think
I'm
Carl's
going to need that? I think Carl's going to
lose
his eye. I think Ron's going to do it. I think Ron is intending to shoot to kill Carl. I think with the walkers coming through now, I think it's going to be Ron's going to go, oh my God, I have to save, and he's going to shoot through a walker, and it's going to take Carl's
got to bring it up to your eye.
Yeah. Which is going to be really interesting, especially if they do lose Alexandria. For the time being, I think they're definitely going to get back. I don't think they're going to lose it. But I mean, if they kind of lose Alexandria, and if it's not Daryl and Abraham and Sasha coming in at the last minute, as well as Glenn to kind of back them up and save them, if Carl does get shot and they have to evacuate the town, I mean, what's going to happen? Because I don't think the doctor lady has enough experience to operate on Carl without the proper...
I don't think it's going to be so much an operation as just as long as they can get antibiotics and put a dressing over it. Because, people can lose an eye and they won't be able to save the eye. But... as long as she can keep something to keep him from bleeding out.
Yeah, I think it depends on how far the wound goes back.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as the bullet doesn't pierce his brain, in which case Carl's dead.
But no chance of being a zombie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thankfully on that part, but I don't think they're going to kill Carl off.
Yeah, they're definitely. They're not going to kill Carl off.
There's too much in the comics that has to do with the character they just cast and Carl. They can't kill Carl off yet.
Yeah, and this character that they just cast, I'm very, very excited to see because they're getting towards him every day. Yep. He's a fantastic character. I'm really excited to see him, and when he gets there, I don't know what I'm going to do because as soon as Negan does show up, I'm just going to be like I'm like a dog chasing my tail.
Dude, you're going to fangirl so hard.
Yeah,
the entire North County area is going to know, oh my God, JazzHandss must have just seen Negan on screen.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. But I mean, this was an amazing episode. Good, a really, really good. Kind of second to last. Maybe I don't want to say it now, but I'm really thinking maybe with the mid-season finale, having the show go from 1 to 2 with it, have an actual 2-hour show.
No, we could probably see about doing that.
Maybe. I think it definitely depends.
Let's see how much they reveal in the mid-season.
Yeah,
it could be the wall falling down for 2 hours or. How long is the mid-season finale?
Mid-season's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Hour and a half of a wall falling.
Well, I mean, theoretically, we could probably talk 3 or 4 hours about the wall falling. Just between the three of us.
Maybe.
I mean, just between the three of us.
Yeah, get 1 or 2 more people live on air.
Oh,
we could kill a 5-6 hour show talking about 1 hour of Walking Dead.
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
really kind of sad.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that kind of is about
I don't know
it.
what drugs you guys are on, but okay.
Well, we're on
caffeine.
Caffeine, okay.
Caffeine. I think Glenn is alive. I'm high off life right now.
Yeah.
So we have that. But I mean, I think that's kind of all the time we have left.
Pretty much. Do either of you guys have any predictions for the mid-season? What do you think's going to happen?
Somebody's going to die. I like safe bets. I like safe bets.
Safe
In
bets.
other news, tomorrow the sun's going to come up.
You're going to need a wall repairman.
Yeah. Watch. No one's going to die this next episode.
Yeah, this will be the one mid-season finale nobody dies.
Yeah. But
by the way, is anybody else as pissed off as I am about every episode being a cliffhanger this season?
Yes and no. It keeps you watching it.
But they're not
up.
insignificant cliffhangers. It's not like, oh, is Maggie going to be mad at Glenn? It's I'm pregnant. And I don't get to know if Glenn's going to be alive or not. And then, they show something happen. And it's just like, oh, really? The one episode with the wolves and Rick and the camper, and then all of a sudden you see the camper. Rick's trying to start it and it won't go. And then the zombies come out of the woods and it's like, dun-dun, next week on AMC's The Walking Dead. And you're like, no, you can't leave him.
Oh, it's Rick. He'll survive.
Because of my predictions for the whole entire season, it's like they said on Talking Dead. This season's supposed to be about uncertainty. So I could really see every kind of episode ended in a cliffhanger. I could see the mid-season finale ended in a cliffhanger, and I can see the season finale ended in a cliffhanger too.
Hang on. I'm getting some vibes from beyond. Oh my gosh, I know what's going to happen. Father Gabriel is suddenly going to turn into his alter ego, Rambo. He's going to get all of the machine guns from Olivia's little stockpile, and Father Gabriel is going to save the day by blowing all the zombies away that break through the wall.
That, not a bad... well, they do have the rocket launcher.
Yeah, if Abraham gets back.
If
Abraham makes it back.
Yeah. So,
but I'm still going with Father Gabriel's going to save everything.
He might round them all up and try to get them to sing Kumbaya, too, so I don't know.
Yeah.
He's going to have them in a prayer circle by the solar panels.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was funny and yet heartbreaking because at least Gabriel was attempting. He was trying.
He's been tempting fate a long time.
Yeah, but he has talked to Carl. He's apologized. He's tried to make good. He, I think, is the only one that Rick does not trust.
Yeah, I don't. Rick doesn't. I think. Well, I think Spencer's kind of on that list now too.
No, I think he still trusts Spencer more than Gabriel.
Well, it's kind of hard to trust somebody who's locked out their parishioners and kept all the food for yourself and then sold you out a couple times, whose seeming lack of morals
for a priest
is little. I'm not. Never mind.
Not to mention seeming lack of ability to save his own hindquarters.
Well, he did.
But
did a couple times.
there is on the bright side room for growth for him.
There is.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. I do think he's making some strides to blend in or...
He's trying to do something.
Yeah. What? I'm not sure yet, but I don't know. Maybe he's one of those seated spies or something. No, I don't think so.
Well, no. I don't think Gabriel's...
Nah. I don't think he has it within him.
No, Gabriel's not a wolf.
Nor a savior.
No. The only one that might be Enid, but I still don't think she's...
I don't think
I used to think that, but I don't know anymore.
I don't think Enid's a wolf or a savior. I think Enid's a lone wolf.
I think she's a brat. That's what I think.
I think she's been through enough that she can be a little moody. I think most...
She's entitled to a little grumpiness.
Attitudes.
You pull a gun out on Glenn,
accentuated.
especially after what we've just been through with him, and you really think that I'm gonna like we're gonna like a character after
I would have
that?
quit watching the show.
Okay, what would you have done if she had blown Glenn
I would
away?
have quit watching the show.
Yeah,
And Glenn had made it out of the
done.
dumpster, and then Enid just said, no! And Glenn's brains were all over.
Well, I was worried about that. I'm hypersensitive now. Of like whenever I see Glenn, I'm like, oh god, this is where he really dies, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm hypersensitive
I
to
see
it.
it happening, but
That would have been so cruel.
oh yeah, that would have
Hey,
been.
thanks for tossing me down the water. Now you're coming back with me. I'm not going anywhere. You know you're not going to pull that.
Show's canceled.
Yeah,
Glenn's dead.
I think that's if they really wanted.
I think that would have been, you would have heard the sound of millions of tables flipping
Yeah,
all over the country just at one time. It may have even put the earth off its rotation.
Maybe.
No!
pretty much. But I mean, that's pretty much all the time we have. I think
Yeah.
we're way past due. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
guys.
inviting me.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the season finale. Things are gearing up, and
Mid-season finale is going to be great.
it's going to be big. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in. I had a blast, and we will see you next week. Bye everybody.